So what's up people and welcome to the first manga introduction of檻ノ中のソリスト, or Soloist in a Cage. Now this is a manga that I did not know about and I just recently started reading. And it is available in the publisher's official website in Manga Plus for free for the North American audience. So I will leave a link to this manga in the description section of this video. Now this is a manga that, although I didn't know about when I started reading, I fell in love with this manga right away. It has a certain vibe that really falls into the types of mangas that I like to read. And for the people who watch my videos, a good number of them are Battle Angel Alita Ganmu fans. And for those of you, the easiest way to explain this is it has a very similar look and feel to the Ganmu series. And so if you're interested, I would suggest that you take a look at this. Now this isn't a relatively new manga. It's by an author named Shiro Moriya, and it was introduced in 2019. And so why am I making an introduction now? Well, first of all, it is the first time I started reading this, and there are only 11 chapters so far in the series. And why is that, considering that it's over 2 years old? And that is because the author fell into a pretty bad illness from what I understand. And so he had to step away from writing the manga for a seriously long time. And recently it's come back, and all 11 chapters are once again being shown on Manga Plus. And I really enjoyed this manga. And the great part is it grips you right from the very first chapter. Now, when I say it is falling into a genre that I enjoy, I mean the type of mangas that are very dark, but very warm and empathic at the same time. The basic story is one of a dystopian environment, and it does involve some sinister situations, although it doesn't go into the severe, gruesome, bloody situations that some of these other mangas such as Berserk or Battle Angel Alita Ganmu go into. But there is always a feeling of sinister danger in the manga. And yet, the main character, which is a female protagonist similar to Alita in Battle Angel Alita, is a very warm character. And in the very beginning chapter, you just fall for her because she is such a kind, caring character based upon the very first part of the story. But you understand that there is always this tinge of danger throughout this entire chapter because she is living in a society called a prison society. This is a society which, from what I understand, this world created as a city correctional institute. And many criminals are now put into this city and left there basically for life. And so this is similar to kind of the New York City in Escape from New York, if you remember that movie with Snake Plissken. And so if you want to think about it in a very unusual way, the character kind of gives you this personality of Heidi in the children's stories. Heidi, she has the skills of Hannah, if you ever saw the movie Hannah or the miniseries Hannah. And she's in this Escape from New York sort of environment. So if you ever imagined a crossover between Heidi and Escape from New York, then Soloist in the Cage might give you that sort of story. And so the girl is very personable. And that combination between the danger that you know she is always in and that really warm feeling that makes you care for the character really sets up the story very well for what will go on in the future. And as we continue to read the chapter, we find out that she is somewhat alone. She doesn't have any parents. We don't know exactly what happened to the parents, but something recently happened to the parents so that they no longer are there for her. They cannot support her. And she also is with her younger brother, who is still a baby, an infant. And what is really nice is within that little world that she's created within her dwelling, it is an extremely warm and happy world between Chloe, the main character, and Locke, the younger brother. And Chloe really seriously loves Locke and likes to take care of him. And in fact, her love for Locke is probably one of the main reasons for her to survive. She knows that it's a tough environment, but she dedicates and commits herself to taking care of Locke, and the life between the two of them is extremely warm. Now the sinister part comes out a little bit. I won't spoil it too much, but I will give you a little bit of the setup. Next door to Chloe and Locke are these groups of mercenaries, extremely hardcore mercenaries. They're world renowned in their, I guess, acts of terrorism, which was what they got thrown into the prison for, and to some extent, rebellion. So again, an act of rebellion or revolution in one perspective is an act of terrorism in another. So you could call them terrorists, you could call them freedom fighters, but they are very hardcore soldiers. And so that already increases, again, the danger between the main character and these groups, until you find out that the leader, Colonel Ross Sandberg, turns out to be a person who's extremely forlorn because he is away from his family, including his wife and his very young child. And so when he hears the kids next door, the only thing he brings out is that he needs to take care of them because he knows they are without parents. And so every day he would take food and whatever he can to make sure those kids stay alive. And Chloe, knowing that these scary men next door are somehow keeping them alive, she starts becoming extremely grateful for the actions that these people do. And at the same time, because these people are mercenaries and extremely skilled, and because they have this desire to meet with their families again in the outside of the prison, there is this plan going on regarding the breakout from prison. And with that, that sets up the story for the first chapter, which will then set up the story for the remaining part of the series. And I find that this series is very good. It has a very interesting plot, and it's not as action-packed as some of the other stories that I may follow. But once again, when you combine this feeling of warmth and wholesomeness even with the sinister, dark background and another dystopian sort of environment, you get some very interesting stories that come up, which are very sentimental, very sad, and sometimes very, very dark. And so if you're a manga fan that enjoys that sort of story, then this may be another manga that you might want to try. Now, I don't know how often the chapters come out, although I think the next chapter comes out around today. And so you might want to take a look at chapter 12 that comes out. But I don't know if it'll come out in a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis. If the author has recovered fully from the whatever illness that he had, then he may actually bring out chapters in a much more periodic manner. But if something goes wrong, then he may fall into the same way he used to release in the past. But I feel that even for the 12 chapters or the 11 chapters that exist right now, with the 12th coming up, I think it's still worth a read. And because the first chapter, or chapter 0 I think is what it's called, is such an impactful chapter, you'll find out very quickly whether you will enjoy this sort of story or not. If you do not enjoy the story in the very first chapter, you probably will not enjoy the remaining chapters, and that will give you a determination of whether you want to follow this manga or not. Now, it does give me vibes, once again, of Battle Angel Alita. It gives me vibes of Promised Neverland, another story that has an extremely wholesome story surrounded by seriously dark surroundings. And so if you enjoy that sort of story, and if you enjoy these other mangas, once again, this might be worth looking into. Anyway, that's about it for Soloist in a Cage. And as the chapters come out, I will, starting with chapter 12, start bringing out discussion videos. So if you're interested, I hope you join me for those. And once again, thank you very much for watching this video. And until the next video about Soloist in a Cage, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.